Hi, friends. Welcome back. I am glad to be back. I wasn't here last week because my amazing friend and manager, Brianna, took over our YouTube channel. So if you didn't get a chance to watch her video on how to talk about disability and how to talk to someone with a disability, then you can follow over here and see that. I'm really grateful for her perspective and for her willingness to share it with our team and with all of you. We are going to take it all the way back to baseline today and establish a working definition of what is disability. I think this is important as we continue our conversation and understanding of disability employment and education and advocacy. We've talked before on this channel, and we talk a lot as a team and in our workshops about the importance of language and having how language is such an important part of how we communicate with one another and our understanding and our comprehension. And it's part of the reason why I think there's a lack of conversation that's happening around disability is because we don't have a lot of language around it, or because we're afraid of saying the wrong things, and so we just don't talk about it. So I've been realizing as we've been trying to provide language in a lot of different contexts and areas around disability, we haven't actually done a good job of giving language specific to what is a disability or what is disability. So we're going to take time to do that today. Some of that will come from me, just a basic overview, and I kind of wrestled with whether or not that felt okay for me to actually be the one to present that information. But I do feel like in just setting a foundation for this is how we're operating as a team, this is the definition that we're using, I feel comfortable presenting that. And then I've invited some of my other teammates to join me in this video, and so you'll get to hear from them towards the end about their own personal definition or understanding of disability, so that you get a little bit more of a personal perspective as we conclude. So diving right in, I'm going to introduce you to this book that we've been reading together as a leadership team. It's called Demystifying Disability: What to Know, What to Say, and How to Be an Ally. The author is Emily Ledo, and I definitely recommend it. It's not a large book, and it has pretty succinct chapters. The author is disabled. She writes from a lot of her own life experience and perspective, but also has great research that she includes. It's pretty thorough, but it also is very digestible. So if you're looking for a good entry-level place to book, an entry-level book to get into and to broaden your own understanding and perspective, this would be a good one. Shout out to Susan for finding it and for sharing it with our team. So starting from very beginning, chapter 1. So what is disability anyway? And I'm not going to go through the whole chapter because you can get the book and you can do that yourself. But she defines disability personally, and this is the definition that I really appreciate, and something that we're using as a foundation and a building block here as our team, is disability a state of being, a natural part of the human experience. I like this for multiple reasons, and we'll dive into that a little bit today. I will share, and this kind of touches on something that we go into on our disability awareness and language workshop that we teach here. But we start out by making 4 circles on a whiteboard, and you have body, mind, emotions, and social interactions. Those are the 4. It's like, what 4th one? So body, mind, emotions, social interactions. That these are 4 circles or components of our humanity. They're things that all humans participate in, hold, engage with. It's part of what makes us human. And disability can and does impact one or more of those areas of our life. So whether that's your mind, your brain, whether that's your emotions, whether that is your body or your social interactions and engagements. And there's usually overlap between those things, right? Like as humans, we're not super compartmentalized. There's a lot of intertwining that goes between those areas of our life. But I think that's helpful to place side by side with this definition of disability being a very normal and natural part of being human and of the lived experience. What does disability impact? It typically impacts one of those 4 circles, and oftentimes can impact multiple of them. So before I sign off and pass the mic on to my teammates, why do I like this definition of disability? Why do I think that it's fitting, especially for the work that we are doing? I like it because it neutralizes disability. It's not inherently good or bad. It's just a natural, normal part of the lived human experience. It's a fairly regular part of the lived human experience as well. About 25% of the U.S. population has a disability, so that's a pretty large percentage. Disability is the largest minority group in the United States. So understanding that it's somewhat common, there's really not a good representation of the frequency with which disability is actually lived or sustained in our world. But moving on from that, that idea, and part of the reason why a lot of times people have reverted to using terms or terminology other than disability is because they feel like that word implies that there's something wrong. And when you kind of dig into the meat of that and asking why, I honestly don't think I've totally gotten to the bottom of it yet. But there's a belief there that not being able to do something or having a limitation or a barrier in one aspect or potentially multiple of your life makes you less human. When personally, I think that is what being a human is. Like, we as humans do experience limitations and barriers. It's unrealistic and idealistic and ableistic, which is not a word, but if you're going to take ableism, which we'll talk about later, and make it into that term, I guess that's what it would be, to think that it's not. And that was something even in a workshop that I did recently, that question came up where someone was like, but isn't that still negative or speaking poorly of someone to say that they have a disability, like they're unable to do something? And that's where that question comes into play of but what's wrong with that? Why is that not okay? And why would that make anyone less human? Which is oftentimes how people with disabilities are treated. So that's why this definition, I think, is important. It neutralizes and it normalizes something that is neutral and normal, but it also opens this window in this discussion and perspective that there's nothing wrong with disability, and really changing that mindset and that perspective. So, which is why we exist and what we're hoping to do. So, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to turn it over now to my friends and my teammates and let you learn from them and from their own experiences. Also, I've been showing this off all week. I got a black eye. my first shiner. I tried to help catch my neighbor's dog that got out the other week, and in the process, the dog, who was very sweet but just very excited, pulled me over onto the sidewalk, and I just totally wiped out. And here we go. Here we have it.